You smell it before you see anything. Damp wool, floor wax, and the sweat of 30 men who arrived before you. A barracks somewhere in Germany, 1939. You are 19 years old. You are holding a pack that weighs more than anything you have ever carried, and you are standing at the end of a row of wooden bunks, staring into a world you do not yet understand. But the world understands you. It has your name on a list, your body in a uniform, and a place for you in the machine. The machine is already running. You are just the latest thing fed into it. Level 1, the Schütze. You are a private, a rifleman, a body the Army has assigned a name to, though no one uses it yet. Your Feldwebel calls you by your surname and mispronounces it for the first 2 weeks. The veterans in your platoon do not learn your name at all. They have learned not to. You wake at 0500 to a barracks that reeks of damp wool and boot polish, and the sour breath of men who ate gray bread and thin soup for dinner. Roll call in the dark. Drill until your shoulders burn. March until your feet bleed through your socks and the blood dries into the wool and becomes part of you the way everything in this army becomes part of you, painfully, without your permission. And you carry a carabiner 98K rifle that weighs 9 pounds empty and a pack that weighs 60 pounds full, and you walk under both until the weight stops feeling like weight and starts feeling like your skeleton. You dig foxholes in frozen ground with an entrenching tool that bends before the earth does. You eat standing up in a field kitchen line, mess tin in hands that won't stop shaking, and the shaking isn't from the cold. It is from the sound you heard an hour ago, the first artillery barrage of your life, a sound like God tearing sheet metal, and your body hasn't decided yet whether you survived it or not. You write letters home. You describe the weather. You describe the food. You describe nothing that matters because the words for what matters don't exist in the language your mother reads. Your Feldwebel is a god. He controls your sleep, your food, your fear, and your future. He can make your life a specific kind of hell with a single sentence, and he does, daily. Not because he hates you, because he is trying to build something from you before the war takes you apart. The first time shots come in, you don't fire back. You press your face into the dirt and hear your own breathing louder than the gunfire, and you think, this is the loudest you have ever heard yourself exist. You are nothing here, interchangeable, a number on a ration strength. But you have one thing every rank above you has already lost. You are not yet responsible for anyone else. Your only job is to survive, and even that job is mostly handled by the men around you. The NCOs who position you, the officers who deploy you, not the machine that moves you from one map grid to another like a piece on a board. Then your first friend dies. His name was Erich. He was 20. He was killed on a patrol you were supposed to be on, but you were pulled for a work detail, hauling ammunition crates 2 kilometers behind the line. You do the math on that for the rest of your life. You never stop doing the math. After 4 months and a winter advance, casualties thin your platoon by a third. The Unteroffizier notices you don't panic anymore. He doesn't compliment you. He just starts giving you the harder tasks. One morning, your name appears on a list pinned to the company board. You have been promoted. No ceremony. Just new expectations. The machine has noticed you. That is not a gift. Level 2, the Obergefreiter, Senior Lance Corporal. You carry the same rifle, you eat the same gray bread, but now you also carry the lives of 3 other men who look at you like you have been here forever. You are 20 years old. You have been in the war for 4 months. That makes you ancient. The replacements arrive in batches of 10 or 15, clean uniforms, wide eyes, packs too tight on their shoulders, and you see yourself in every one of them, and the recognition makes your stomach drop. You brief them on things no training manual covers. Sleep with your boots loosened, not removed. You need to run, not search. Keep your rifle action covered with a rag in rain. When artillery comes in, count the interval between impacts, because the pattern tells you where the next one lands. Eat fast, always eat fast. You have no idea when you learned these things. They accumulated in you the way mud accumulates on your boots layer by layer, until the weight is just part of walking. Your Unteroffizier trusts you now. Not with affection, with utility. You are a reliable tool. He gives you the fire team on the exposed flank. He gives you the night patrol route that runs closest to the enemy positions. He gives you these things because you will not get your men killed through stupidity. And in this army, at this point in the war, that is the highest compliment available. In combat, you no longer freeze. You move on autopilot, rolling into cover, returning fire, directing your team with hand signals you don't remember learning. The autopilot terrifies you, not because it fails, because it works. Because somewhere between your first firefight and your 20th, a version of you was built that operates without your conscious participation, and that version is more competent than the one who writes letters home. You exist in the gray zone now. You are not the men who take orders. You understand too much for that. You are not the men who give orders. You have no authority for that. You are the hinge. One night on patrol, one of your 3 men does something stupid. He stands up. A single rifle crack from the tree line. He falls. The sound his body makes hitting the frozen ground is a sound you will hear in quiet rooms for decades. You drag him back. He is dead before you reach the trench. And then your Unteroffizier tells you to write the letter. It is your job now. You sit in a dugout with a pencil and a piece of paper and you stare at the blank space for 40 minutes. There are no words for what happened, so you write that he was brave and it was quick. Neither thing is true. But his mother will read this in a kitchen in Bavaria and she needs it to be true. So you lie. This is your first act of command, not the fire team, not the patrols. The lie. A company takes a village. Your Unteroffizier is hit crossing an open street, evacuated, gone. For 11 days you lead his squad. Then a new NCO arrives and the Hauptmann pulls you aside. A 2-week NCO course behind the lines. You board a truck heading east while your unit moves west. You don't know if you will see any of them again. Most of them. You won't. Level 3. The Unteroffizier. Junior NCO. Squad leader. You command 10 men. You are the direct interface between officers who draw lines on maps and soldiers who bleed in the spaces between those lines. The translation is never clean. You wake before your men and sleep after them. In between, you perform 100 small acts that no manual describes and no officer witnesses. You check feet for frostbite, peeling off socks frozen to skin, examining toes by the light of a single match. You inspect weapons, bolt action, firing pin, bore, with fingers so cold they barely register the steel. You ration ammunition. You settle arguments between exhausted men who hate each other over borrowed cigarettes and imagined insults, and you settle them quickly because resentment in a squad gets people killed faster than enemy fire. You carry a submachine gun now, an MP40 that weighs 8 pounds loaded, and a map case you were given 2 weeks of training to use, which was not nearly enough. You attend briefings with the lieutenant in a cellar that smells of stone dust and kerosene. He tells you what the company will do tomorrow. You walk back to your squad knowing the plan assumes conditions that haven't existed for a week, accurate maps, full ammunition supply, enemy positions that haven't shifted. You adapt. You always adapt. You lie. You tell your men it is going to be fine. The lie has become a tool as essential as your weapon. In combat, you are everywhere. You plug gaps in the line by physically dragging men into position. You pull a wounded rifleman into a crater and tie off his leg with a belt while bullets snap overhead. You scream orders over gunfire, and your voice has developed a quality you don't recognize. A flat, commanding bark that comes from somewhere below your conscious mind. Your men respect you if you keep them alive. Your officers respect you if you keep your men effective. These two goals conflict constantly, and no one above you acknowledges this, because acknowledging it would mean admitting the machine runs on the fuel of that contradiction. The guilt arrives. Not sharp, not sudden. Cumulative. Like sediment building in your chest, 1 grain at a time. You choose who takes point. You choose which fire team crosses the open ground first. You choose, and sometimes the man you choose does not come back, and you chose him because he was the most capable, which means you spent his life because he was good. And the ones who survive are the ones you trusted less. The math is obscene. You do it every day. Then the order comes. Hold a position that should have been abandoned 4 hours ago. A position with no overhead cover, no fallback route, exposed to direct artillery observation. You hold because the order says hold, and the lieutenant confirms it. And the battalion timeline requires it. The bombardment lasts 18 minutes. 3 of your men are killed. Not because the enemy was superior, because a staff officer needed a position held for a timeline that existed only on paper. The lieutenant tells you it was necessary. You nod. You go back to your squad. You will never nod the same way again. 18 months in. Battlefield commission offered. Lieutenant, officer rank. You accept because you believe officers can change the orders that kill men. You are wrong, but you don't know that yet. Level 4, the lieutenant. Junior officer. Platoon leader. You command 30 to 40 men across 3 squads, and everything about your world has changed. The uniform is different. Not just the insignia, the cut, the fabric, the way it hangs on your shoulders like it was built for a man who stands straighter than you used to. Your pistol holster sits on your belt where your ammunition pouches used to be. You carry binoculars, a compass, and a map case that is no longer an accessory but the center of your professional existence. You study terrain maps by candlelight in a half-destroyed room with one working lamp and a field telephone that rings at intervals designed to prevent sleep. You plan movements with a grease pencil on acetate sheets, arrows, phase lines, objective markers. And each line you draw is a path some man will walk under fire because you drew it there and not 300 meters to the left. Snipers look for men like you. The binoculars, the map case, the posture. You learn to never stand still in the open, to never silhouette yourself on a ridge, to crouch when you walk the line. You walk the line every evening, not because regulations require it, because your Unteroffizier need to see you, and their men need to see you seeing them. And this theater of visible courage is as essential to holding a position as ammunition. You attend the company commander's briefings, and for the first time, you see how your platoon's mission fits into a larger operation. The larger picture is often incoherent. Objectives that require 3 companies are assigned to 1. Timelines that assume clear weather are issued during a storm. Supply requirements are approved on paper and denied in reality. You nod and plan around the gaps because that is what officers do. You eat slightly better food, the same rations but with occasional additions from the officers' mess. A piece of cheese, a tin of sardines. And you feel guilty about it every time because your men are eating the same gray bread they have always eaten, and they know you are not. The distance is the worst part. Your old squad barely recognizes you. You pass them on the line and they stiffen, call you Herr Leutnant, and the warmth drains from their faces like water from a cracked canteen. The other officers, career men from military families, academy graduates with clean hands and proper accents. They sense you came up from the ranks. They are polite about it in a way that is its own kind of wall. You now sign documents, casualty reports, requests for replacement personnel that describe your dead men as numerical shortfalls. You write their names on one form and their numbers on another, and the machine only reads the numbers. You order a platoon assault on a fortified position because battalion demands it. 11 men die, including an Unteroffizier you trained yourself. The Hauptmann says, "Well done." You go behind the captured position and vomit where no one can see you. You clean your face. You walk back. From this day forward, "well done" sounds like a eulogy. Level 5, the Hauptmann. Captain, company commander. On paper, you command 150 men. In reality, you command 73. The gap between those numbers is made of the dead, the wounded, the missing, and the replacements that were promised and never arrived. You are the highest-ranking officer who still regularly sees the front line, and that distinction defines everything about your existence. Your command post is wherever you can string a telephone line, a sandbagged cellar with maps pinned to stone walls, a farmhouse basement with water seeping through the floor, a dugout reinforced with timber stolen from a barn. You spend mornings reading reports that confirm what you already know. Ammunition is at 40%. Rations are adequate for 3 more days. The battalion objective is unchanged despite the fact that the tactical situation has inverted twice since it was issued. You spend afternoons forward with your platoon leaders, physically walking the positions because the radio is unreliable and because the company commander, who does not show his face at the front, loses his company's trust in ways no order can repair. You spend evenings on the field telephone explaining to the battalion commander why you cannot accomplish what he is asking with what he has given you. He tells you to make do. You make do. You always make do. You eat standing up. You smoke constantly, 40 cigarettes a day, maybe 50. You stopped counting. You develop a facial tic near your left eye that pulses when you are tired, which means it pulses always. You have become fluent in a terrible arithmetic. If the 2nd platoon takes the crossroads, the 3rd platoon can consolidate, but the 2nd platoon will take 30% casualties doing it, which means 6 men. And you know which 6 because you know who is on point, and you know who is slow, and you know who freezes, and you know this because you have watched every one of them under fire. You calculate acceptable losses the way a shopkeeper calculates margins. You have gotten good at it. Getting good at it is the thing that will haunt you until your last breath. The replacements arrive younger each month. 17, 16, boys with smooth cheeks and uniforms still creased from the depot. You look at them and you see the dead looking back at you in advance, adjustkis, and you assign them to squads and you brief their Unteroffizier and you walk away and you feel something closing inside your chest that you cannot name. You are ordered to hold a line during a Soviet offensive. You know it will collapse. You request withdrawal authorization. Denied. You request again with updated casualty projections. Denied. You hold. The line collapses exactly as you predicted. 43 men killed or captured in 6 hours. You survive because your command post was 200 meters behind the main position, 43. You will remember the number forever, but eventually you will forget their names, and that will be worse than the number ever was. It is 1944. You are pulled from your company, the company you built, and given a staff role at battalion, the rank of major. You do not want it. You take it because there is no mechanism in this machine for saying no. Level 6, the major. Battalion staff officer, deputy commander. For the first time in years, the front line is something you hear rather than see. The artillery is a distant rumble now, felt through the floorboards of your command post more than heard through the walls. You work from a requisitioned building, a schoolhouse, a municipal office, a manor house with shattered windows patched with cardboard. And the building has a roof, and the roof does not leak. And this small comfort feels like a betrayal you cannot articulate. You spend your days at the map table. It is a wooden door laid across 2 sawhorses, covered with a 1 to 50,000 topographic sheet. And on this sheet, you move unit markers that represent men you once stood beside. Blue rectangles for your companies, red for the enemy. The markers slide across the paper with a soft scraping sound, and each movement represents an order that will result in men running, shooting, bleeding, dying, or, if you have done your job well, surviving. You draft operations orders in precise military language. Paragraph 1. Situation. Paragraph 2. Mission. Paragraph 3. Execution. Subparagraph alpha. Scheme of maneuver. The language converts human suffering into numbered instructions with a clinical elegance that you once found alien and now produce fluently. You attend briefings where colonels discuss timelines that assume reinforcements from divisions that have been destroyed, ammunition from depots that have been overrun, and fuel from supply lines that exist only in the transportation officer's optimistic spreadsheets. You nod. You plan around the gaps. You have always planned around the gaps. At night, you review casualty reports at a desk lit by a single bulb, and your hand no longer shakes. You notice this one evening the steadiness of your fingers as they turn pages listing the dead, and you sit very still for a long time, trying to decide if that steadiness is strength or something far worse. Your uniform is cleaner now. The Feldgrau is brushed. Your boots are polished. You shaved this morning with hot water. These details accumulate into a physical separation from the men in the foxholes that feels more absolute than any number of kilometers. Company commanders call you on the telephone, and their voices carry the particular tension of men asking for things they know you cannot provide. More ammunition, more men, permission to withdraw from positions they cannot hold. You provide what little you can, which is almost nothing, not because you don't care, because the machine above you has allocated its diminishing resources according to priorities you do not set, and your compassion is irrelevant to the supply chain. Then the radio call. A company commander you promoted personally, a man you trained as an Unteroffizier, watched grow into an officer, trusted with 100 lives. He calls from inside an encirclement. His voice is controlled, professional. He requests permission to withdraw. You forward the request up the chain. It takes 4 hours to receive the response. Denied. You relay the denial. There is a long silence on the radio. Static, breathing. Then he acknowledges. His company is overrun the next morning. 71 men. You process the report. You update the map. You move the blue rectangle off the sheet because the unit no longer exists. You attend the afternoon briefing. No one mentions his name. The Eastern Front is collapsing. You take over the battalion. Oberleutnant. A handshake, a typed order. 45 seconds. The responsibility will outlast everything. Level 7, the Oberleutnant, Lieutenant Colonel, Battalion Commander. You are the last true commander, the highest rank that still commands a unit operating as a coherent tactical entity on a front that is disintegrating around you like wet paper. You wake at 0400 in a command post that moves every 72 hours. A half-ruined school one week, a shattered church the next. The command post moves because the front is fluid, and fluid is the word the staff uses when it means retreating. You cannot call it retreating. The word is forbidden, so you call it adjusting, consolidating, shortening the line, and everyone in the room knows what these words actually mean, and the shared pretense is one more weight on a structure that is already buckling. You issue orders that contradict themselves because the strategic situation contradicts itself. Hold this line, but prepare to withdraw. But do not withdraw without authorization. But authorization requires 12 hours to process, and the Soviet armored columns will be here in 4. You solve this equation the only way it can be solved. You prepare the withdrawal in secret, hold until the last possible moment, and move before the authorization arrives, then report the movement after the fact as a response to enemy pressure. This is not insubordination. It is the only way to keep your men alive. But if the wrong officer reviews the file, it becomes insubordination retroactively. And retroactive insubordination in 1945 is punishable by death. You manage ammunition that arrives at a quarter of requested quantities. You manage replacements who are 16-year-old boys with 3 weeks of training and 50-year-old men pulled from factory floors. You look at them and you see neither soldiers nor civilians, but something the machine has produced in its desperation, raw material shaped just enough to hold a rifle and follow a man pointing forward. You walk the positions less often now, and you hate yourself for it. Not because you are afraid, because there are not enough hours, because the telephone never stops and the reports never stop and the decisions never stop. You are 25 years old. Your hair is going gray at the temples. The face in the mirror when you shave, the rare mornings you shave, belongs to a man 2 decades older. You know the war is lost. You have known for months. You knew when you watched the supply reports dwindle from inadequate to fictional. You knew when the replacements stopped looking like soldiers and started looking like someone's children. Every order you issue extends a war that cannot be won, and every man who dies following your orders dies for nothing except the fact that the machine has not yet stopped. But stopping the machine is not something one Oberleutnant can do, so you keep issuing orders. You keep the battalion alive one more day. You tell yourself this is enough. It is not enough. You know it is not enough. The counterattack order arrives. Battalion strength against a Soviet brigade position. You know it will fail. You execute it because the alternative is court-martial, and your replacement will execute the same order with less care for the men. The attack lasts 4 hours. 112 men. You draft the after-action report in language so clinical it reads like inventory management. You finish. You sit alone. You don't cry. You have forgotten how. It is early 1945. Your division is surrounded, breaks out, reconstitutes, and is surrounded again. The divisional commander is killed in an air attack on a staff car. Radio message from Army headquarters. You are promoted to Oberst, temporary divisional command. You are 26. The division was 7,000 men. It is now fewer than 2,000. You command ghosts and the memory of what they were. Level 8, the Oberst. Colonel, acting divisional commander. The final rank. The end of the ladder. You sit in a farmhouse cellar with one functioning radio, a map table made from a kitchen door, and a staff of 4 officers who are the last competent men in a command structure that has ceased to function in any recognizable way. The situation map is updated hourly. It is obsolete the moment the pins are placed. You receive orders from an Army headquarters that may or may not still exist to hold cities that have already fallen, to counterattack with divisions that are company-sized, to execute maneuvers that require fuel, ammunition, and men that the Reich no longer possesses. You reply with situation reports that describe reality. Reality is ignored. So you stop waiting for orders that make sense and you begin issuing the only orders that matter. Permissions. Permission to withdraw. Permission to consolidate. Permission to survive another 12 hours. Your men, the remnants, the survivors, the boys and old men and walking wounded who still answer to your command. They look at you, and you are the last institution they believe in. Not the regiment, not the division, not the fatherland. You, a man with flat eyes and steady hands and a voice that still sounds like it knows what to do, even when it doesn't. To the structure above you, you are a unit designation that fails to meet expectations on a map in a bunker somewhere far from here. You exist in the gap between the men looking up and the void looking down. At night, you stand outside the cellar entrance and listen. The artillery is constant now, a rolling, overlapping thunder that comes from every direction because the fronts have merged and there is no rear area, and the sound is the sound of a world ending. Not the world. A world, the one you have lived inside for 6 years, the one that ate you rank by rank. You are 26 years old. You have held every rank from Schütze to Oberst, and each one took something from you and gave you something in return, and the exchange was never fair. Your innocence for awareness, your friendships for authority, your sleep for responsibility, your moral clarity for the ability to function inside a machine that consumed everything it touched. The question that sits in your chest like a piece of shrapnel too deep to extract is not whether you did your duty. You did, every day, every rank, every order. The question is whether duty was ever the right word for what you were actually doing. You will spend the rest of your life with that question. You will never answer it. A May morning, gray dawn, distant smoke on every horizon. You place your sidearm on a wooden table. You lay your hands flat beside it. An enemy soldier steps into the room, 19, maybe 20, a rifle too big for his frame, helmet tilted slightly on his head. He stares at you, wide eyes. You recognize the expression instantly. You wore it once, a lifetime ago, in a barracks that smelled like damp wool and floor wax. He does not know what you have seen. He does not know what the ranks cost. He sees a man surrendering. You see a boy at the beginning of a machine that will do to him exactly what it did to you. If not this war, then the next one. You hold his gaze. He holds yours. Two men on opposite ends of the same ladder built over the same grave. You lower your eyes. It is over. The weight does not lift. It will never lift. You carry it out of the war the way you carried everything, in silence, under a sky that does not care about your rank. Somewhere right now, a young man stands at the end of a row of bunks. Different country, different uniform, different decade. The barracks smells like industrial cleaner and synthetic fabric instead of damp wool and floor wax. But the smell still means the same thing. You belong to the machine now. He is holding a pack that weighs more than anything he has ever carried. He is 19. His name is on a list. His body is in a uniform. He has the same wide eyes, the same posture, half terrified, half proud, not yet understanding that those two things will trade places so many times he will forget which one came first. He believes duty is simple. He believes the ranks above him know what they are doing. He believes the machine exists to protect him. He is not wrong yet. But the ladder is already built. The rungs are waiting. And the grave beneath it is already dug. He just can't see it from where he's standing. Give him time. He will climb. They always climb.